This is a Fulcrum Technologies screencast.
Hello there, I'm Rex Proctor. Thank you for joining me in this screencast. I am very delighted to be presenting this screencast today. We are introducing a new beta feature. Well, it's actually a rewrite of a current feature, which is related to filtering. Yes, finally, we have unlocked the ability to use attributes and so much more in your filter search patterns. So let's jump straight into it and show you how to turn this beta feature on. So I'm going to jump in to Angles, build 1076 or beyond. You need to launch it and then quit it and then jump into Finder and go Users, Shared, Angles, Preferences, and find the beta folder, and you'll see that there is a nested searches. Right click on that, open it up in your favorite text editor, and you need to set this allow nested searches to true. Mine was already set, yours will probably be false, so just change it to true. Save the file, quit it, close Finder, and jump back into Angles. You'll know that the new filter stuff has been turned on is if you type in the filter box, the little filter text will turn red. That's the new parser telling you that you have an error in your search pattern there. Now, the big change here is that anything you're searching for must be put or wrapped in double quotes. So I've got a simple timeline here, and if I'm searching for a qualifier, say Q1, I've got to type that in like that, wrapped around the quotes. So it's also obviously case sensitive, so be aware of that. If you're not seeing what I'm seeing when I hover over, where I'm seeing my categories, attributes, and qualifiers, jump into the visuals and turn Show Qualifiers, Show Categories, and Show Attributes on. And that will then appear in your hover. All right, so simple. Got to wrap things in quotes. You no longer need to use double ampersands for your ands, your ors, or your nots. So those operators, you only need to use a single. So if I'm looking for qualifier 1 and qualifier 2 inside of the clips, I simply do an AND operation here, and note that any of the operators must have a preceding and following space. So that's a pretty simple search. You can see that I filtered in clips that contain category 1 and qualifier 2 and qualifier 1. Okay, now let's take a look at these new identifiers that we have. The first one I want to show is row. Square brackets RO N square bracket will search in a row. So now you can specify a specific row. So let's search in row 1, and you can see that that highlights all clips or filters in all clips in row 1. If I want to combine that with a qualifier, I'll go Q1, and now I'm targeting only row 1. How brilliant is that? So now you have the ability to target rows. The next powerful one, and probably the most powerful one I would say, is the attribute names. So I can go AN bracket, that's my identifier, and then it's going to search for whatever's in the search string there, and we're going to go A1, and you can see that that filters in any clips in row 1 that have a qualifier Q1 with an attribute A1. So here's that one, and we go here, and there is that one. So incredibly, incredibly powerful mechanism for searching now. You can save these. So I'll add that to my patterns, and that becomes a drop-down that I can click on. Now, let's take a look at another identifier, which is the notes. So if I go NT, quote, great, quote, well, it's not finding anything, but I know I have a note in here. This is a great play. Well, this is where another handy little feature called wildcards comes in. So let's go star great, star asterisk. You can see that that wildcard gets filters in the clip because the word great is contained within the note, right? So this is a great play. So it's hitting that because great sits in the middle. So using those wildcards can really help you with writing these formulas or these filter patterns into your searches. So I would highly recommend that you play with the asterisks, because it'll make things a lot less wordy, if you will. So your filter patterns don't have to be as long. Okay, so that's notes. Now, another thing that you can do is that we can use parentheses for specific searches. So if I go this and I go Q1 and attribute name A1, and I wrap that up in parentheses, that starts the search and then terminates it after the parentheses. So then I can do another search, and I can go, let's bring in Q2 and attribute name A2 and end those. So now I'm able to do some pretty complex stuff and continue to chain those, and the parentheses terminate the search, so you don't end up searching within the search. So that was what the old filter used to do, which caused the problem, because you'd end up filtering out what you were really looking for. So you need to play with those parentheses if you're doing some long, complicated searches. Those parentheses will terminate the search and reset it, and then you can go search for something else. Commonly used with ors, I would say, but you certainly can do an and in there and constrict it that way too. So some powerful stuff going on there. You have qualifier category as well. So QC, if I'm looking for any qualifier category of category 1, that filters in any clips that have a qualifier that has category 1. So now I can go and qualifier. Remember, you don't need a QN for the qualifier name. By default, it's searching for qualifiers. And I go Q1. That's going to come up. Now let's change that to category 2, qualifier 2, qualifier 3, and there we go. So now you can search specifically within a qualifier category and search for that qualifier. And the same is true for attributes. You can use attribute category to do the same thing. So I'm not going to go into any more detail into this, because I think you got to sit down and play with your data. However, I do want to share a really killer feature about this, and that is a new table type. So I'm going to create a table, and I'm going to set that table to the filters table. Now, within here, I can go, let's go looking for Q1. And I click here, and here I'm going to right click. I'm going to name that to filters. And so I can input a filter here. So let's just do a real simple one, Q1. And when I select this, it now sets that up and says, okay, I'm looking for Q1. And all I have to do is select that. So let's go looking for Q2 in row 2. So let's go row 2 and Q2. Is that what I was looking for? I think so. Yep. And now when I select that, it now selects any clips that have Q2 and in row 2. And you can bounce between these. So you can set up a whole bunch of filters and flick through them and paste them into a composer or whatever you're going to do with it after that. And you can save this. So let's go ahead and rename it, and I'll call it My Special Filters. Now, the killer about this is we can set the column type, and let's do a count. So now when I click on these, it actually gives me the count of all the clips returned. I can do time. That gives me total time of all of the clips. And I can do average time, which will average all of the clips that are found and give you, the average of each of the clip durations. So this is going to be a really fun feature that is going to unlock, the ability to throw counts into buttons, into overlays, and a variety of other places. But it's all wrapped around this new filter language. We haven't really decided exactly how that's going to work or the naming of it. We'll land on that as we go. But you can now create some incredibly complex filters, and you can finally use attributes. Hallelujah. Thank you for listening and watching. I know this one was a little bit off the cuff. It's not the official one, but we were so excited to get this out to everybody and for people to start having a play and give us some feedback. Enjoy.